Hello everybody, it's Kirsty. You know me, I try to solve crime using astrology. Now today I'm going to have a look at a case which was presented to me by a beautiful follower. Thank you so much again for giving me this case to look into. Ryan, now I'm going to try and say this correctly. Shtuka. Ryan Shtuka. I'm just going to call him Ryan because I don't want to pronounce his second name wrong all the time. Ryan went missing on the 17th of February 2018 from Sun Peaks Village in British Columbia. Now here he is, he's just a young man. He was last seen leaving a residence on Burfield Drive around, this says 10 past 2, but I've actually got some different time frames that I think are a bit closer. Saturday, February 17th, to walk a short distance home, but he didn't go home, he didn't show up for work, and that was the last his parents or anybody saw of him. And as we can see here, Ryan is 20 years old, 6 foot tall and lean, blonde hair, brown eyes, 180 pounds. He was last seen wearing dark jeans, a grey or white shirt, a blue coat and a burgundy cap, which I do believe, you can't quite see this, but the cap is in this this picture here. This might have actually been what he was wearing, the white grey shirt. So what I'm going to do is have a look at a couple of charts and let's see if we can help find Ryan. So we have a couple of last seen times for Ryan, but they are very close together. First of all, I was told 2 a.m. Then after a little research, I've found out that it was actually 1:40 was when he was last spoken to, but then 1:55 he was last seen. 2 o'clock was, you know, when we know he was gone from the party. So even though we can have a look at all of them, so this is 1:40. So zoom out. This is 1:55, so go 1:40 and just watch the planets and everything move. 1:55, barely any movement there. 2 a.m, not much more movement, just a little bit. But what it actually does is it changes ascendant. So at 1:40 we have a Scorpio ascendant, which makes Ryan ruled by Mars. Now when we get to 1:55, the ascendant turns to 0 degrees of Sagittarius. Then that represents Jupiter being Ryan. When we go to 2 a.m, it's 1 degree of Sagittarius, it's Jupiter again. Now because Ryan is 6 foot tall and built exactly like a person that has Jupiter, Jupiter is tall, or it can be a larger person, but it can also be a very tall person. So to me this fits the characteristics of Ryan. Now I'll just have a look at him. Some more characteristics with Jupiter or Sagittarius is a well-proportioned body, strong, represents a person tall of stature, like I said, an oval face, which he has an oval face, a high forehead, which in fact he does have a high forehead, light brown hair, check, blondie brown, handsome, check, well proportioned legs, long feet, well spoken, well conditioned person. In comparison to Scorpio, which gives us a person usually of short stature, strong but dark features. So I believe that the 2 o'clock chart is the best chart that we could work from. Now I'm going to zoom in. So this is the 17th of February. Now the closest I could get to Sun Peaks was Kamloops, which is, that's the police and everybody that's looking after this case is Kamloops. So I'm going to zoom in. Oops, not zoom out, zoom in so we can see what's going on here. Now that's not going to work. To move it around, we can do this. Okay, so this is the chart that we're going off. We're going to map from this chart, and we're going to see if we can see what has happened to Ryan at 2 a.m. onwards, just prior and just after. Okay, so as always, the ascendant, like I just explained, rules the victim in this case, so Ryan. So he is ruled by Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter's at 22 degrees of Scorpio, and it's hidden in the 12th house. Now that's concerning, but it also just shows us exactly what's happened. He's hidden. He hasn't been found for a couple of years, so he's hidden. Now there's a couple of other points that lead to this chart being correct, which is something that you have to do when you look at these charts, is make sure that everything fits and works with what you know as well as how you read the chart. But when you have the ruling planet in a cadent house, which this 12th house is a cadent house, it can show that the 12th house, which is a cadent house, so we have angular houses, which is the 1st, the 4th, the 7th and the 10th. Succedent houses, which is the 2nd, the 5th, the 8th and the 11th. And then cadent, which is the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th and the 12th. Now unfortunately, when someone is missing and their ruler is in the cadent area, it shows that the recovery is a long way off, and that's already proven to be the case already. It can show that the person may not be found when it's in a cadent house, but that's actually dependent on other aspects that are going on. So I just wanted to make that known, that it's in the cadent house. Now it's in a water sign as well, so we have to keep that in mind, and that water indicates places like rivers and ponds and water, basically, as it says, water. Okay, so in this instance we look opposite in the 7th house. I mean, we don't know what happened to Ryan. Did someone do something to him? You know, did he just wander off? What's happened? So what I see here is Gemini on the DC, and often, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, whenever Gemini is on the DC, it shows me that there is most likely two people that know what happened. Now that doesn't mean that two people are involved or two people did this. We need to look at other factors as well, obviously. But it shows me that two people, possibly siblings, possibly cousins, possibly just friends, actually know a little bit more than what they're saying. So that's the first thing that I can see here. The ruler of Gemini is Mercury. Mercury is down here in the 3rd house of communications, talking. So that also shows me that at 2 o'clock there was communication. Now as you'll see, at 28 degrees, which is where Mercury is, the sun is right there as well. So that actually shows me that there's two people here and a third. Two people and an older male know something. Like I said, that doesn't mean that someone killed him. I'm not saying that. Not at all. I'm just saying that to me it appears as though there is at least 3 people. Now this Mercury is 2 people. The sun is so close it counts as another person. That's how I do it, and it often works like this. The Sun shows an older male, and then Mercury shows quite often cousins or brothers or siblings, or brother and sister. So we have 3 people that I would imagine spoke to Ryan before he left. So they may have some indication of where he was going, but are possibly too scared to say something. Now, the reason why I say that is, although we don't have Neptune here on the ascendant and an extremely pivotal Neptune on the angles, Jupiter itself can indicate someone that's drank so much that it's too much. So binge drinking can be shown by Jupiter. Now, it's not a bad thing. All kids go out and have fun and drink a lot, at parties. He was at a party, he was having a drink. So it shows me that it was likely that there was alcohol in his system. Now, the closest aspect to Jupiter, well, first of all, we have a sextile to Pluto. Now, that's not a great indication. Now, first of all, I just want to say, it's, as I've said before, it's not my place to say if somebody's deceased or not, and I don't know 100%. I'm not the police, I'm not forensic pathology, I don't know what they found, what they know to that extent. It's not my place to say whether he's alive or not. But in saying that, I have heard his parents speak, and I believe that they believe they are looking for Ryan's body, sadly. Now, what I'm going to do map-wise is just show where the map goes. Now, to me, it doesn't appear as though anybody's hurt Ryan. I have to say that off the bat. The next aspect Jupiter's making is this, it's wide, 22 and 28, but so from the victim to the suspect area. Now, I say suspect area because that's the area. I'm not saying there's a suspect in this, but in the suspect area. So there's a square between Jupiter and Mercury and the Sun. Now, what this shows me, with all of this in the 3rd house, including Neptune, which is also drinking and partying and having fun, and the Moon, which is the co-ruler of Ryan, it's all in here. The square here shows me that I believe he had a conversation with these 3 people before he left, and I believe that they know that his level of intoxication was really high, and perhaps they think they're trying to protect someone or something, but they're not. And I don't believe that these people would even be in trouble if they would have said something. I just think that there's 3 people that know something that they haven't said. Now, I must reiterate, I do not believe that 2 people or 3 people killed Ryan. I don't. What I actually see here, and I will go through it, is accidents. And unfortunately, there's some clear signals of accidents in here, so I'm going to go through that. I'll just show you the top here. There's not much going on there. We have so much in the 3rd house. So we've got to remember, 3rd house is nearby. It's within the neighbourhood. The 3rd house is communicating. It's walking. It's travelling from A to B. All the things that were sort of going on at that time are indicated by this 3rd house here. So quickly, just having a look at the chart, that was the 2 o'clock. This is 1:40. You'll see up there. So he was at the party at 1:40. Now this puts him as Scorpio, which is him as Mars. Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, the traditional ruler of Scorpio, which puts him in the 1st house. So he's literally there at the party. Now, nothing really else moves here except over here in the 7th house we have Taurus on the rise, and Gemini is still in there but intercepted in the 7th house. So now we have Taurus and Gemini in this 7th house. So when I go down to Gemini, which is Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, down here at 28, we've got that. And then we have the Sun, as I said, so we have 2 people and then an extra person, a 3rd person. The ruler of Taurus is Venus. Venus is right here next to this Sun. Now, it's widely conjunct, so very wide. But what this actually shows me is that it's possible that Ryan was talking with a female and these other 3 people. So now I'm not sure whether the female, because it turns to Gemini so quickly, so by 1:55 we're at Gemini, it feels as though this female is a part of this Mercury couple. So there's 2 people, maybe a brother and a sister, or 2 cousins, but there's a female and a male, and then an older male as well. So all of these 3 are now indicated by this 7th house. So I really have a feeling that Ryan, he's here still. At this instance he's Mars, so he's out in the open in the 1st house, just in Sagittarius, so talking openly, having a good time, talking to what seems to be 3, possibly 4 people. And then by 2 a.m. the female has gone back down here. It's purely Gemini on the 7th house cusp, so it brings forward the fact that the 2 people, whether it be male and female, and the older male, were the very last people to talk to him. So I believe that if there's any clues to be had, I'm not sure who was spoken to at the party or how many people were at the party, but I do believe that there are either cousins or siblings, a male and a female and an older male, that have some sort of information that may help. I reiterate, not a suspect, someone that may be able to help, even just with an area that he may have said he was going, and they feel as though it was the wrong way, or I actually get the feeling that maybe he was given the wrong directions. With this whole 3rd house here, it feels very much like that, and moving forward we'll have a look and see whether that's the case. But at this point in time, it appears as though, like I said, there's a few people that could give some information that will help the overall investigation. They may not know even that it will help. Maybe they need to... Okay, I think individually they know themselves that they probably should have said something, but perhaps a trigger may occur. I'm hoping that someone will say something and it will open up an area to be able to search for him or figure out what has happened to him. Now, this chart unfortunately does show me a few things that don't look good, and I mean in terms of an accident that may have occurred, and I'll go through that now. Please shut off if you don't want to hear this. Okay, something that stands out to me a lot is where Jupiter, which is the ruler of Ryan, where it sits at 22 degrees of Scorpio. That's actually the position of the fixed star called Alpha Serpentis. Now, there's a few different meanings for that particular fixed star. Now, I'll tell you the whole meaning of, like, all the different meanings, and then I'm going to read a couple of other things that start to make sense, and we can pick out of this meaning what makes sense to the situation. So 22 degrees of Scorpio here is 6. So what it represents is success followed by a fall. It can, now this does not all apply to Ryan. Absolutely 100% it doesn't. But some of it does. Success followed by a fall, suicide. I don't believe that happened in a minute. No way did Ryan commit suicide. Insanity, no. Accidents, yes. Success in war, obviously not. Shipwrecks, obviously not. General loss. So the things that stood out with this in particular are success followed by a fall. So it's not just success and then a fall from success. I interpret that as also being a fall and then an accident as well. Now, I wouldn't say that if it wasn't backed up by the degrees of the Sun and Mercury. The fixed star called Gena or Gina is at 27 Aquarius, so conjunct these two, and the meaning of that fixed star is going to great heights and then the potential of sudden downfall. So in terms of how we know where he's in the mountains, it's a ski area, so there's falling and then there's sudden downfall, soaring to heights. You know, we have to take the pieces out that match. I mean, obviously we can't say that he was in a shipwreck, so you know, there's the fixed stars give us a lot of meaning into various different things, but the ones that are applicable are the rulers of these two areas that I look at constantly. So when I see them standing out in an area where I know there's a fixed star, where there's accidents or great heights and falls, which is what I can see here, it really does imply that he's taken a stumble and fallen. And I think his parents are right in assuming that he's actually still up there and still in the snow, sadly. But as I said, miracles happen, amazing things have happened. I have seen many charts actually that have Sagittarius and Gemini on the rise and on the 7th house, where the person comes back after many years. So that's something to remember whenever you look at these charts. If you're learning how to do it, have a look at Sean Hornbeck and Ben Owensby. They were both kidnapped by this disgusting man. If you look at the last event charts for them, they both have this Sagittarius Gemini. And I started to do a little research on other people that had come back after years and noticed this pattern of Sagittarius and Gemini. So when I see that, I can't automatically say, look, something's dreadfully going on here 100%, because I've seen things happen where they've come back years later. Unfortunately, in this instance, it does show that there's a lot of accidental areas that we're looking at, but we can still hold out hope. Let's start having a look at the map. So first of all, I'll zoom right in here. We're going to use 25, which is the icy, the 4th house, the end of the matter. Now, it is important to note here that the end of the matter is actually in Pisces, which shows water and rivers and ponds and well, snow as well. So the end of the matter, or the resting place, is at 25 degrees. So I'm going to go out 0.25 miles and then 2.5 miles, and then 25 miles would be the most that I would go in this case. But let's just start out with 0.25 and see how we go. We're going to use Mercury in the Sun at 28 degrees of Aquarius because of that 7th house. We're going to use Jupiter, and we're going to use Saturn because Saturn is our body, our physical self. So let's have a look at the map. So first of all, I want to show you the terrain. This is Sun Peaks and this is mountains. Okay, so Sun Peaks, I believe, is like a place where 3 mountains meet. So we look at the road. You can't quite get the gist of how high we are, but as we zoom in here, we've got other areas. Let's look at the terrain. So these lines show us how high it is. So like it gets higher up here. We've got 1200 meters, 1400 meters, 1600 meters. It goes up there. So I imagine these are the ski paths. I have never skied in my life. I've got no idea. But if it's 3 mountains, then maybe it's like this one, and this one, and this could be where you ski. I don't know. Anyway, so we have 2.5 miles out this far, but when we go in, because this is what we need to do, I'll go to the hybrid view. Actually, no, I'll go to road view to start with. Okay, so 0.25 miles is this far, and as you can see, I've plotted the Mercury line, the Saturn line, and the Jupiter line. So we'll go to hybrid view and zoom in. Now, I believe this is the area on Burfield Drive that Ryan was at the party. So I'm going to zoom out here and have a little look. Okay, I think I get the gist. The resort is here. No, okay, there's lodges here. Alright, so you would come down all these mountains into your resort. Please tell me if I'm wrong. I may be completely wrong. I don't know British Columbia. I know nothing about skiing. I know nothing about altitudes or anything even. But I do know what I'm looking at, and what I seem to be looking at is where you can ski. Okay. So this line here is the Jupiter line. So that's 22 degrees. I'll go back to it. 22 degrees of Scorpio is this line here. So let's zoom in. So that's the line that represents Ryan himself. Now obviously I don't know this area, but people that have searched, and hopefully if other people would continue searching, they may know what I'm talking about and say, okay, we have searched there, or we haven't searched there, or whatever. But let's just focus on these 3 lines. So this Jupiter line goes, now I'm not sure where the party was. I believe it's possibly this house here, but I know it was in this area. So my first thought is that he's walked down Burfield Drive west, and I don't know what back in time is. It's on Google Maps because we can actually have a look, and here we have Burfield Drive. Back in time, I don't understand what that is. It comes from the mountain. There's a ridge, and then it's yellow. I don't know if this is water or what it is, but across here. So it's like this is one possibility, this area where this house is here, and then behind in this bush, what if it's at all possible to cross this, and then I can't make out what this is. Let's have a look. We're never going to be able to see. Okay, let's just go here. No, I want to go near that bush type stuff. So right up here. Okay, thick pine and heaps and heaps of trees. Okay. Alright, I get the gist of what's down there. So back to my map, we'll go out a little bit. So I believe then he has, in this instance, it's like he's gone southwest, which also coincides with the directions of Jupiter being in the 12th house. So that's southwest down here, and it goes out, and I haven't put the line there, but it goes out to this point in the middle of these trees here. Now I'm sure that so much area has been searched, but I just have to show this area in particular. Okay, so that's the Jupiter line. Now the Saturn line, which is our physical body, has gone in a different direction and crosses over here, so through this bush. Now I know in my heart of hearts that this whole bush here has been searched, so I just don't believe that they haven't not searched this little area of bush here. So I wonder whether that Saturn line is perhaps showing us something else, but I just feel as though this area has been searched. Now if we go right out, now it was really cold that night, and oh, hang on, oops, let's just go out to there. I can't do it all at once, sorry. 276 is about there. Okay, so if he kept walking from the party across here, across this Sun Peaks road, and then just somehow kept walking, to me it looks like he'd be walking up a really steep hill. Let's have a look. Yeah, he'd be walking up a mountain. So I'm not 100% sure about going up, but hey, that's what the map says, and we can't, doesn't matter what I say, the map does say that. So I will show that area again from there through this section here, which I'm sure has been looked at, but again I have to just show what the chart shows me. Goes through here adjacent to Sun Peaks Road, across through here, and then high into the bushes. Now this has a latitude and longitude. If anybody wants to know this exact area, it's down the bottom here, and I can always pull up these locations. If anybody needs specific locations, I can give those. Line, I've got it in terrain view here because as you can see it's going up into the mountain, into the ski lodge. So I just feel even if you were inebriated and you got lost, if you were walking up, you're going to realize you're walking in the wrong direction, I feel. Now of course we need to keep into account the fact that there's appears to be falls and some sort of high height and falls. So like I said, I don't know the area, and I don't know what has been searched, and if there is falls and drops in this particular small area here. So the Mercury line goes up again, so I can't discount it, obviously, and I won't, of course. So that goes from Burfield Drive across that area again. You know, if this area hasn't been searched thoroughly, which it had to have been, but if it hasn't, I honestly would be looking in this area again, just unless it's been searched 25 times and there's just no way. This is a very distinct wedge of an area here. So it crosses Sun Peaks Road, goes through Black Bear Lodge, then crosses that ridge, which becomes Back in Time, whatever that is. And as it would go out, it would just get higher and higher and higher and higher and higher into this bushland. So go back in. What I see with this chart, with the Mercury and the discussions and the fact that the third house is, or can represent, someone telling someone something else, I believe that the people that I think that he wasn't sure which way to go, maybe because he was inebriated, and maybe these people sent him into the wrong direction. Not purposely, but I really feel that quite strongly. And I feel like the wrong direction is down this way, not up here. I think if he went up here, he would have been okay, because there's so many people, so much action. It only makes sense to me, and I can feel it. It sits in my stomach that he was talking to people and asked the way to go, or maybe asked the way to go on the road. Like, let's pop our little man there. So say it was at, I don't know, one of these houses. I can't tell. It's like there's maybe people congregating out here, and he's like, oh, which way? Which way shall I go? And he's been told to go down instead of up. What I actually realised is the chart's telling me that there was communication said that led him in the wrong direction, and I do believe, as I said, this is the direction down here. Now I can zoom in there, zoom out, and unfortunately when we go out to the line you can see all of this bush here. So if anybody wants to know the latitude and longitude of the particular line, anyone that's going to search, then please contact me. So that's all I'm going to do at the moment. There's no point doing all of the lines, putting the whole chart on there, because we're going to have 12 lines with all the planetary lines in between, and it's just too much. So we start with a couple, the main areas. Now I have a very strong feeling that if you had to go out more than 2.5 miles to find Ryan, that would be a stretch. I actually believe he's closer than that in the Sun Peaks area. I did see an interview with his mum and dad, and they said that they do believe that he's still in Sun Peaks, and I have to agree. I don't believe that he's far away from this perimeter here. Personally, if it was me and my child, I would be looking, well, not only everywhere like his beautiful poor parents have had to do, but along this line, and then keep going and keep going. I don't know how far you could actually go to get through there. Let's look at the terrain. See, you're even going up a mountain there, but it seems like it's crossing a flat area. That line hasn't matched up, I apologised. Until it goes into the steeper land. Now, the end of the matter in the chart, Pisces, here, it doesn't represent hilly land or steep land. So all of the indicators are that he's come from higher ground and ended up on lower ground. I can't tell you the distance, obviously, but I don't believe he was high up. The end of the matter, the resting place, is the lowest place you can be in terms of location. If it was Aries down here instead, so we have Aries here, but if it was Aries on the end of the matter, or the resting place, I would say he's gone up into those hills, possibly up here or up this way. But everything that I can see from the chart and the map and what I know leads me to believe that southwest of what I'm looking at here, so that's south, that's west, maybe it's called south-southwest, that's the Jupiter line. As we can see, Jupiter is there hidden in the 12th house, so again it shows he's hidden very well. But I actually believe that there may be some people that might say something that's going to lead to an answer for his parents, and I really, really, truly hope that that's sooner than later. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching, and please look at the description below for information. If you have any information leading to Ryan's whereabouts, or if you know anything, I will leave the details below. You can say it anonymously. If you think you might know something but you haven't done anything wrong, you can anonymously do it. If you haven't done anything wrong, just come forward and say what you know, just to help. So like I said, I need to reiterate, I don't believe that he met with foul play, but I do believe that there are a few people that were at that party that he communicated with and possibly gave him the wrong directions, or just steered him in the wrong direction. They didn't know, and maybe know now, or think back and go, oh my God, I told him to go that way and I should have told him to go that way. You can just make a phone call and tell them that. So alright, I hope so much that Ryan is found. His mum and dad love him heaps. He seems like a lovely boy, and I just hope that they can bring him home soon. Thanks everyone. Bye. Take care.